Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel and Santokie, and with me as ever is my partner in crime, Santokie Nagilendran. Santokie, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, Mash. You know, the people demanded more content from CCP. They've got their wishes. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Now we're back again Wednesday. This got to be a record streak. So we're here once again, giving the content, giving that analysis. You know, you won't find more accurate or better analysis about Caribbean cricket than right here on CCP. People might cuss for me saying that, but it is what it is. We're out here. And Mash, we're back. You know, yesterday we did an episode on England, the test series to England, the test squad. We're switching it back now with the World Cup in full flow, and West Indies playing in about just over 3 days' time against Uganda at Providence Stadium in Guyana. So we're here to predict who do we think should make that 11 that lines up against Uganda, the big game Saturday night in Providence.
Yeah, so it's a real interesting one, Santokie. First things first. Let's put up the team to remind people who played versus Papua New Guinea. So the team versus Papua New Guinea was Rodman Powell, captain, Johnson Charles, Brandon King, Nicholas Pooran, Shafane Rutherford, Dre Russ, Romario Shepherd, Akil Hussain, Alzari Joseph, Gudakesh Moti, and Roston Chase. Now, I would argue, Santokie, that in any major global competition, the first team that you pick when injuries aren't a factor in the tournament is usually your best 11, or what you deem to be your best 11 prior to going into the tournament. So I do not believe, Santokie, that the team versus Papua New Guinea was a horses for courses pick. I think that was what Sammy and his backroom staff believe at the point of the start of the tournament was their best 11, the best construction, the best makeup of the squad. I'm not here to say if it was or if it wasn't. I'm just saying that's what I think that's how I think they started the competition. Let's start there. Agree or disagree on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think in tournaments, you start as you mean to go on. So you pick your best squad for the first game, regardless. So I think, yeah, Sammy's picked his first choice 11 for that first game. And the fact that we won Mash means we won't see any wholesale changes going into Uganda.
And that's why I'm glad. See, I can hear you losing your voice and talking. This is what happens. This is what happens when we run CCP like a TV show. You and I are both down bad, acting like we're on some global TV network here. CCP down bad, people. But exactly, Santokie, and that's kind of the point I was going to make. I wanted to see what you said first. That I think it's foolish. Obviously, there's going to be loads of people who get in the comments after this going, no, they should bring in this person, they should bring in that person, this person should come out, that person should come out. It's not feasible. It's not feasible that you make 4 changes from game 1 to game 2. It's barely feasible that you make 2 changes from game 1 to game 2. So my belief, Santokie, is at best we'd see 2 changes. I expect probably that there'll be none, but it's plausible that there could be 1, I guess, right? What's your thinking on that?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And for those of you wondering, me and Mash don't discuss this pre-show. We just come and freestyle this. But I think it's very realistic and plausible that we see an unchanged 11, keeping that winning momentum up from Papua New Guinea. However, Mash, as you said, there's also a possibility that we could see 1 change. Johnson Charles is the big sort of question mark for me, having got that golden duck against Papua New Guinea, his form in Providence. There's that question mark over what happens with his spot. However, Mash, there's not many, in terms of openers, who we don't have Carl Mayers. He's a reserve at the moment, so he can't immediately be brought in unless there's an injury listed within this squad. So that hasn't happened as far as we're aware. So if we're ruling Carl Mayers out, the question is we don't have any specialist openers who can come in for Charles. So by that rationale, Mash, I think we'll probably see Charles line up against Uganda alongside King, another chance. But if there was to be a change, if Sammy did say, you know what, Charles, I'm going to take you out of this, let's put someone else in, Mash, where would you go in this squad? Who would you kind of look to in terms of that opener position?
Yeah, so I raised I think after the Papua New Guinea win, I raised, in fact, let me take this team off the screen for now. After that Papua New Guinea win, I raised the notion, I think I suggested it possibly even when we did the XI video for who should play versus PNG. And I said, there's an outside chance you play Hope and Chase. Now, given our difficulty, Santokie, to negotiate the Providence surface in game one, and given that the only person who seemed to be able to not succumb to the drama of the situation at one point in the game was Roston Chase, there must be some level of temptation with Darren Sammy to say, well, boy, I have one other guy in my team who doesn't seem to get flustered when pitches get difficult, or doesn't seem to get flustered when there's an understanding that I just have to bat deep and bat long to make sure we put up a total. And that obvious person is Shea Hope. Now, everyone up to now has assumed that Shea Hope and Roston Chase are fighting for the same position. Chase offers that sixth bowling option. Hope offers the same thing that Chase can do, which is construct an innings, maybe accelerate at the back end. Everyone bats around him. So based on that point you just raised, Santokie, I think it's just a temptation. I wouldn't bet all my money on it. But maybe, as you said, they'll look at Johnson's record at Providence and say, boy, Shea Hope played for the winning Guyana Amazon Warriors side at Providence and was very good. Johnson Charles sucks at Providence. Maybe we should just swap Hope out. Horses for courses. Charles can come back when we go to Trinidad. I don't know, Santokie.
Yeah, but that's always a big one. If you're taking your opener out, so let's say Hope comes in as an opener, it's a big gamble to take Charles out and assume that he'll be able to come back and slot into the side. Because then, all right, let's just say Hope does well as opener. You then have the dilemma: do you keep Hope and King as the openers for the Trinidad leg where Charles might do better in that role? So you open up that kind of conundrum. But as you said, Hope has the record with Guyana Amazon Warriors at Providence. He knows what to do. If you're, I guess part of being a coach, Mash, is it'd be simplistic to kind of keep the same 11 as long as you can. I guess part of it is being able to adapt. So Sammy might go down that route. What would you think about the option of potentially, bearing in mind Providence, obviously we saw it's a slower pitch. You're not necessarily going to need as many sort of finishers, attacking-minded players. In terms of the last sort of specialist batter in the side, Shafane Rutherford, could you envision a scenario where we see Hope come in for Rutherford?
Okay, so that's an interesting one. So I wrote down pre-recording, I wrote it down about 10 seconds into the show because I did no planning. But as the theme tune was playing, I started writing down something. And what I wrote down was, the first thing I wrote down was Hope ? The next thing I wrote down was, do we bat too deep? Now, you said you could take Rutherford out. I'm just going to generalize, Santokie, and say, if we have Romario Shepherd at number 8 and he's not being used, why do we have Romario Shepherd at number 8? Now, I'm not saying that to say Shepherd should come out the side, but I am saying that to say, why do we have batting down to number 8? And I'm not sure where I stand on this notion of we need to have a power hitter coming in at number 8. Did you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think especially like I said in Providence, it's probably a place where you don't need that batting depth and that power coming down the order. So what would you say, Mash? But then you would need Romario Shepherd for the bowling though, surely as well.
Right, exactly. So it actually backs up your point. You could take out a Rutherford and move Dre and Romario one up. So Dre, well, you're saying take him out for Hope, actually. So actually, it doesn't actually fix the situation because you'd still have a 7 and 8. But I guess what you're saying is you take out a power hitter in Rutherford, knowing that you've got Dre, so knowing that you've got Rothman, Dre, and Romario, and you're bringing in an innings constructor in Shea Hope, in essence, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Right. Essentially, at Providence, I don't think you need that array of finishers. You don't need like 4 finishers in the side. So if you've got Hope in, you've kind of got a contingency plan where you've got someone in who can sort of knows the ground, can play well on the pitch, can carry the innings, but at the same time, you're not sacrificing any overs, any bowling overs.
Okay, let me flip it on you.
Yeah.
What happens if they take out Rutherford, move Dre one up, move Romario one up? So Dre's at 6, Romario's at 7, and they don't bring in Holt. They bring in an actual bowler. Now, hear me out, Santokie. Our bowling wasn't actually good versus versus PNG. Remember, we were rubbish at the death. There was no way PNG should have made 136 or 137 or whatever it was, given the situation they were in at the halfway mark and at the end of the power play as well. We didn't look particularly penetrative with the ball, and there surely must be some kind of temptation to bring in one of Obed or Shamar Joseph at some point, and you'd rather do it earlier, surely, than later. Now, the obvious thing to do with regards to Obed or Shamar Joseph is it's bowler for bowler, but maybe actually you just bring in a bowler. I don't think they'll do that, but I'm just raising it as a potential possibility.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. If you had to bring in if you had to bring in a bowler out of those two, who would you go for as a natural inclination? I would lean more. I mean, Shamar Joseph has the potential for X factor, but in terms of proven ability, I would lean more towards bringing in Obed McCoy in that scenario.
So when Uganda got lenged down by Afghanistan in game 1, the guy who took most of their wickets, I think, was Faruqi. I think it was him who swung a lot in at pace, which suggests to me that now people hear the word pace and say, well, bring in Shamar Joseph to bowl at 90 clicks plus and smash them down. But actually, it suggests to me that you want someone who can move the ball more. Faruqi got a lot of in-swing to the Ugandan batters, and to me, that's something that Obed McCoy would do more than I'd expect Shamar Joseph to do. But again, Santokie, I guess we can talk about all of these things, but I don't see them being that bold. I don't think they'd. Sorry to kind of link it to other sports again, but again, let's remind ourselves: game 1, okay, a W was a W, but it wasn't convincing. It wasn't impressive. It was a very subpar performance. Which side of the fence do you think Sammy falls on? Side 1, which is that wasn't how we expected to start the World Cup. We got the 2 points, but it was subpar. Then the 11 have to go out again and prove themselves, prove why they started the tournament, which is what I think they'll end up doing. Or do you fall on the fence of side 2, which is I wasn't happy with certain things I saw. We got to be ruthless out here. No time for sentiment. No time to be like, oh, they've got to work their way into the tournament. I saw something I didn't like. You're out. This person's in.
I think it's more the first option in terms of almost like in terms of football analogy, like a Mikel Arteta, trust the process. I think he'll be looking at it, Sammy. This isn't just a short-term thing. This is something I've been building on for the past year. I have to back myself. We've been successful in the bilateral series for the past year. I have to back it, trust the process. Obviously, it wasn't optimal performance against Papua New Guinea. But again, Mash, not forgetting, this is a home World Cup. It was for these players. There would have been a lot of pressure, regardless of the fact it was Papua New Guinea, just the fact it was a home World Cup. So, as well, you could think Uganda, essentially the worst side in this group based on form. You'd imagine if they were going to bounce back and prove dominant performance, it would have to be against Uganda. Surely, it's almost like a low-risk second game. I think if we were playing Afghanistan or New Zealand next, then there might be more panic in terms of what can we do now? We have to change things because this is a must-win game. I think Uganda, no disrespect to Uganda, is essentially like a cushion before those matches where we can kind of use it to build confidence. Famous last words before you.
I was going to say, as you were talking, I was looking at you going, boy, I don't know about that one still.
No, but listen, I know West Indies are down bad, yeah, but come on, man. Like, we got surely against Uganda, this is where West Indies lay down the marker and put, look, this is a home World Cup. We're West Indies. This is our dominant. This is if we're going to put a dominant display. I know we ain't seen a dominant display in World Cups for a long time, Mash, but there's ever opportunity for a dominant display. It's got to be against Uganda on Saturday night, right? Surely Sammy's got to say, listen, you 11, you go out again and show me what you can do, basically.
Listen, I'm going to go on the record now and say there is no way on earth that we lose to Uganda. No way. However, Santokie, I am not brave enough to say that we'll win convincingly. After PNG, there's no rules anymore. We could beat Uganda, but we might just scrape past them. But I refuse to believe that we will lose to Uganda, but I can accept that it might not be a good performance. Now, we can talk about the consequences of that at a later date, but go on, hit your point. Let me.
I was going to say, and also we have some sort of context now because Uganda's played Afghanistan. So if we're if Uganda are scoring 120, 130, 140 against us, then we know we're in trouble because obviously Afghanistan, we saw them take it out for 58. And obviously we're recording this before they're playing, but I think Uganda are playing Papua New Guinea today.
Yeah. They're playing them in about 3 hours from now at the time of recording. So if they beat Papua New Guinea, let's just say argument's sake, Santokie, if Uganda beat Papua New Guinea tonight, and do it comprehensively. Listen, all bets are up about Saturday, you know. All bets are off, Santokie.
Listen, if Papua New Guinea convincingly beat Uganda tonight, and I dare see Uganda post up 130, 140 against West Indies on Saturday, it's over. It's over. 3 a.m. in the morning, watching Uganda lick boundaries. But you know what, Mash? We always say never in West Indies cricket, so you never know what's going to happen. But Mash, one other question. Obviously, it's a big question. Providence Saturday night. You know, there was a lot of criticism. We've had a lot of people comment saying that the crowd weren't there on Sunday against Papua New Guinea. It's Saturday night at Providence. Guyana famous for its crowds in CPL. Do you think we'll see a crowd for the Uganda game? Obviously, it's hard to predict, but the fact that it's a Saturday night in Providence, and also we got one more game up. We got Uganda and then New Zealand at Providence. Are we really going to go 3 games in Guyana without King Hetty playing 1 game? You know.
Well, we didn't discuss Hetty, did we? We mentioned that Shamar. We mentioned. Do you know we never discussed Hetty? So actually, let's end the show by just talking about Hetty.
Don't you think that in itself is reflective of the fact that?
Of what
we haven't even considered him.
He's not even on there's no spot for him. There's simply no spot for him. And actually, no. Do you know what? I will end by just saying this. Let me drop this in there because I'm sure somebody will say in the comments. When you said about 10 minutes ago, Johnson Charles, you know, his record at Providence, maybe they could replace him, and then we pivoted to Shea Hope. Some people say just put a pinch hitter up there. Tell Hetty to go open. Now, that would be thinking completely outside the box. It's not going to happen because if it was going to happen, surely they should have tried that at some point before the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
But if Hetty isn't considered in that regard, to me, there's no spot for him in the West Indies setup. Somebody would have for Hetty to get in to the West Indies team, like Rutherford would have to like golden duck against Uganda. And then they'd be forced into being like, boy, well, he's had 2 ducks or 2 low scores. Can we really play him against New Zealand? Hetty's basically waiting for someone to fail. Otherwise, he could go for this whole World Cup without playing a game.
Yeah.
But, you know, exactly. It kind of is what it is. And so, go on, sorry.
Also, I think for the wider context of the World Cup, I think we need to win convincingly against Uganda, match. If we're scraping through against Papua New Guinea and Uganda, down bad, beaten up badly by the time we play Papua New Guinea and Uganda with narrowly scraping 2 wins. Then we got to face New Zealand and Afghanistan. Oh my days.
No. There is no one can convince me. If we don't beat Uganda convincingly, no one can convince me that the players' confidence won't have taken a hit. So to me, people, okay, you know what? Argument's sake, I'll accept everybody who said a win is a win. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how unconvincing it looked at times. A win is a win. We won with 1 over to spare. Everybody who was happy with all that, cool. Let me accept that for 1 second. If we win against Uganda the exact same way we won against Papua New Guinea, I would be very concerned going into the New Zealand game, because what you would basically be saying is we can't play how we played in game 1 against New Zealand. They'll hand our asses back to us, right? So there has to be some level of acceptance amongst the West Indian fan base that we have to see a good performance, not a winning performance. It's not good enough to just win. We have to see a good performance to at least remind the side that I still maintain that you can't go from subpar, then suddenly raise your level out of the blue to World Cup winning level, which it's gonna have to be to overcome New Zealand and Afghanistan. You can't just play like you played versus PNG. But let's see, Santokie. Let's rally. Let's rally round them, because of course we do. We hope that they win. In fact, no, we're not hoping they're gonna win. We know that we know that they're going to win, but we hope that they win convincingly to just, you know, rally the region and make everyone confident and feel big and bossy again.
Man's talking like we got big match against India or Australia. Man said we got to win it to rally to galvanize the region, to get belief back. We got to be Uganda. Fam, how down bad? What's going on, man?
Listen, the fact that I can't take it for granted says everything. No, I am taking it for granted, but deep down, I can't take it for granted.
All right, so Mash, let me put this to you. Yeah, Sunday. Well, Sunday is 3 a.m. Yeah, West Indies are batting against Uganda, edging in on a win. Our run rate for the last 4 overs is 2.75. What are you doing, Bob? You celebrating or what? You taking the win or what?
You're gonna have to ask me again. You're gonna have to ask me that again come Sunday morning.
Certain man would say in 2.75 was acceptable as long as we get the W. So does that philosophy translate into the Uganda game as well?
You know what? Let's put it to the people watching this. Is all that matters against Uganda a win, or how we would, or does the way we win against Uganda matter? Santokie and I refuse to answer. Well, we've answered it. Everyone get in the comments below. Does it matter how we win versus Uganda, or are you not just saying get the win by any means necessary? Listen, Santokie, last thing, and then let's wrap it. So, cards on the table now. Let me bring this the team back up now. Yeah. That's the team versus PNG. You can't even like do the cop out and say what you would do versus what Sammy would do. What do you think the playing 11 will be versus Uganda? Do you think same team or any changes?
Yeah, I think it's the same team. You know what? I would actually love, for the chaos, I would love to see like Hetty come out and open as a pinch over, just to see something different. But as you said earlier, like I don't think they've not done it before. Why would they do it now in the World Cup? So I think because it's the fact it's Uganda, Sammy knows these teams inside out. He knows Johnson Charles very well. I don't think he's going to discard Johnson Charles after one game. And it's not even come as a shock match. We've said it so many times. Charles gives you a 1 in 3, 1 in 4 big innings. So it's not like this golden duck would have been a massive shock. So I think he'll go with the same 11 match.
Yep, and I am in agreement with you. I think they'll go same 11. I think your point about trusting the process is valid. I think Sammy will put the first game, the performance on the first game, to just nerves, and we took our foot off the pedal. Some of our bowling changes made no sense versus PNG, probably because we thought we were coasting to a victory. I think Sammy will put the same 11 out, but just demand full intensity across the 20 overs, batting and bowling, and to make a statement. So I don't foresee any changes. If there was to be one, the only one I can really see, injuries notwithstanding, is Charles out and Hope in, but I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. So I'm saying on change side. People, obviously, comments below. I'm sure some of you are going to be like, no, 4 changes have to be made. Can I just say to everyone who's about to say something like that, I'm not asked, like, be serious. Like, be realistic. There's not going to be 4 changes. So don't waste our time putting in the comments they should bring out these 4 man and bring in these 4. It don't make no sense. When you put your opinion down, at least try to put it in some logical thinking of, I could see them doing this, as opposed to basing it off some emotional conclusion. Last words to you, Santokie.
Yeah, I think Mash, as you said, with quick episode, just to sort of break down 11. As we said, neither of us think we'll see any changes. But you never know West Indies cricket. But as always, Mash, we rally. We'll be up Sunday night, 1:30 a.m. UK time, watching it all take place in Providence. We spent the whole show saying Guyana's West Indies shouldn't have a dominant win. But you know what? Even if we scrape through with a 1-wicket win, we have to rally. We have to, no matter what. We have to rally no matter what. And the thing is, if we do scrape through with a weak victory against
Papua New Guinea, I think I'm going to be really dunce and bossy ahead of New Zealand, and claim that we're ready to beat New Zealand. I'm just gonna go full 180 and say, yeah, we're ready. But listen, rally all the time. As we said, 1:30 in the morning for those of you who are in the UK. Obviously, adjust the times to whether you're in the Caribbean or the North America, etc., wherever you are in the world. Rally said same way. People, comments below, like, share, subscribe, all of that. You can support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast at www.patreon.com/CaribCricket. We're going to do a Patreon fundraiser, we think. Not fundraiser. We're trying to, no, sorry, let me phrase that. We're trying to really push the Patreon over the next month. Santokie and I are going to we're trying to give you, just before we press record, we were just talking about the content for the England series, Test series, and we've got so many different things planned, but it's going to cost money that we actually probably don't have. So if we can get as many patrons as possible, we're being completely transparent here, it would go a long way to maybe helping us get the equipment, do the interviews, get to the grounds, etc. So if you can, as little as £1, £1 yen, £1, whatever your currency is, www.patreon.com/CaribCricket. Like the video, share the video. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, Facebook, everything. Go support the Caribbean Cricket. Do you notice I said TikTok this time?
Wasn't it someone told us we should stop saying TikTok because we sound like old uncles? So.
You're getting a bigger profile now. Stop sounding like old uncles. I know it's a joke, but stop sounding like old uncles. Say the word properly. So TikTok people, we're on TikTok. And we are doing a giveaway as well for one of our CCP sweatshirts. So because we just passed 1,000 on TikTok. So if you go to X, retweet the thing, and then I'll pick somebody out and send it to you, etc. Santokie, you close it.
Yeah, no. So as always, we look forward ahead to the game against Uganda, and I think Mash will probably maybe Sunday night or something do a live show, kind of chop it up with all the fans, dissecting hopefully what was a massive win for West Indies against Uganda. But as always, we rally. So thank you everyone for joining. Obviously, comment below whatever you think of our opinions. Do you agree with us? Disagree with us? As always, we welcome all sorts of comments from everyone, all sorts of cuss outs. Bring them on, okay? So have a good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're listening to this in the world, and we'll see you very soon. Take care, guys.
Peace.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules seem coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.